Do you want your child to copy other people or to be original?
Welcome to Parenting Matters Now, a source of parenting advice a few minutes at a time.
Hi, it's Dr. Roger Smith with Parenting Matters Now. That is actually a trick question because we all learn to become who we are by copying other people. Historically, people who studied the arts, they became an artist, a sculptor, a musician, a tradesman, a craftsman of some sort. They would always copy the people who were ahead of them that were doing well. And learning to copy the style, the techniques, the ways of the masters that were ahead of them is the way that a new master developed their own person, their own style. I'm sitting here in front of a flower arrangement. It's past its prime, but several days ago, it was beautiful. My niece made this. To me, it was a picture of copying something. She learned to make flower arrangements by copying someone who was a licensed professional florist and began to learn how arrangements were made beautiful by copying this person's techniques. And so from that, you can then branch out and develop your own variations of good practices. So how does that apply to parenting and children? Well, first of all, little children, they are unabashedly copycats. They want to do what you're doing. You're in the kitchen, in their minds, you're just banging on pots and pans, and so they do it. They stir and they pour, and they're going to have tea parties just like you would have tea or coffee with your friends, and so children naturally try to copy their parents. As they progress in life, somehow copying gets a very bad name. And I understand plagiarism is copying and claiming it as your own. Now, that's different than just copying for training practices. So I'm not advocating plagiarism, but sometimes copying, handwriting what is written in a textbook or any book of study, handwriting it out, copying the style of the writing, even the formation of letters, all of that is training. So the intent is that they would understand whatever it is that they are copying. They come to learn it. There's a saying I learned from Andrew Pudewa of Institute of Excellence in Writing fame. He said he studied with Dr. Suzuki in Japan, and there was a saying he picked up in Japanese or in Japan. It says, and it was talking about repetition and doing the same thing over and over. In a sense, that's copying. Okay, and they had a saying. It said, 10,000 times, then begins understanding. And so, in these thousands of times of copying, you are learning the ways and the practices and the movements. And in his case, it was about learning violin. And I've seen it applied in sports that you have to do something. The number I'd heard in sports, 1,500 times before it becomes muscle memory, where your body is doing it without you even trying to do it that way. It just becomes automatic. But there is something about training by copying in many, many repetitions before then you start asking valid questions like, is this really the best way? If I approached it a different way, how would that change things? And so therein the saying, 10,000 times, then begins understanding. Masters are born by copying those that are ahead of them. So the original question I said was, do you want your child to copy others or be original? Well, you can't be an original without copying someone, because that's the path to get to there, to find your own personal style. Encourage your children to find heroes that they can copy, the way they speak, the way they write, the way they do music, the way they dance, any number of things. Help your children to copy great people. It's Dr. Roger Smith with Parenting Matters Now.
Subscribe to Parenting Matters Now for more advice, or go to rogersmithmd.com to search for more topics. See you next time.